Very good morning and thanks for tuning into the breakfast news on Rajya Sabha television. My name is Aishwarya and here are the headlines. No scope for involvement of third party in matters relating to India and Pakistan, says MEA. Reaction following Chinese envoy's comments for trilateral cooperation to resolve issues. India terms a statement a personal opinion. Finance Minister Piyush Goyal to discuss way forward for the banking system with the heads of 13 public sector banks today. First meeting with the heads of PSBs after fourth quarter results of last fiscal showed most of them posting losses. Google to help in improving flood forecast systems in the country. Central Water Commission enters into agreement with the tech giant for effective flood management. US escalates a trade war with China, threatens to impose tariffs on additional $200 billion worth Chinese goods if Beijing retaliates against tax on imports announced last week. And England scrape past Tunisia with a 2-1 win on day 5 of the FIFA World Cup. Sweden beat South Korea and Belgium trounced Panama in the other two encounters. Our top story this morning, India has said that matters relating to India-Pakistan relations are purely bilateral in nature. Now, reacting to Chinese envoy's comments on Monday, the Ministry of External Affairs said there is no scope for involvement of any third country. The MEA further said that India has not received any such suggestion from the Chinese government and that the statement by the envoy is his personal opinion. The Chinese ambassador to India has proposed trilateral talks among India, China and Pakistan on the sidelines of the SCO summit.
Chinese ambassador to India, Lao Zhaohe, has said the future of India-China relations is crucial for the region. Addressing a seminar on Beyond Wuhan, How Far and Fast Can China-India Relations Go?, the Chinese ambassador proposed a trilateral dialogue between India, China and Pakistan on the sidelines of the SCO framework. India and Pakistan have become full members of SCO this year. He said, and I quote, "Some Indian friends suggested that India, China and Pakistan may have some kind of trilateral summit on the sidelines of SCO. So if China, Russia and Mongolia can have a trilateral summit, then why not India, China and Pakistan?"
Personally, I think this is a very good, constructive idea, and maybe not now, but in the future, that will be right direction. We should needed to do something to realize this idea. That's a great idea, and help to resolve the bilateral issues, help to maintain the regional peace and tranquility, and everything benefits for any country. It's worth of us to do.
Chinese ambassador said that the spirit of the Wuhan talks between Prime Minister Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping was taken forward in the meeting of the two leaders on the sidelines of the SCO summit in Qingdao. He also said that bilateral ties between India and China cannot take the strain of another Doklam episode, while emphasizing on the need to find a mutually acceptable solution on the boundary issue. He suggested a 4-point agreement to enhance India-China ties, including Treaty of Friendship and Cooperation, negotiate free trade agreement, enhance connectivity and resolve boundary issues. He also stressed on the need for both countries to enhance cooperation in SCO, BRICS and join hands to tackle social challenges.
Chinese ambassador had come up with a similar idea last year when he proposed to rename China-Pakistan Economic Corridor to China-Pakistan-India Economic Corridor. This year, he has come up with the idea of China, Pakistan and India trilateral. What he forgot last year, the question of sovereignty of India, and this year he is forgetting the question of terrorism against India. China needs to be more sensitive about India's concerns. Akhilesh Suman for Rajya Sabha television with camera person Jitendra Negi in Delhi.
On to the other top story of the day, Finance Minister Piyush Goyal will meet the heads of 13 public sector banks today, and the meeting is being held to resolve various issues concerning the banks. The meeting is being organized by the State Bank of India. The discussion during the meeting will be on the way forward for the Indian banking system. Now, this is the first meeting with the heads of the PSBs after the annual financial result for 2017-18. Now, most of the banks posted losses in the fourth quarter of the last fiscal. The Nirav Modi fraud hit Punjab National Bank alone, that posted the largest ever quarterly loss by a bank. It is followed by the country's largest lender, SBI, also posting a 7,718 crore rupees loss. Union Minister Arun Jaitley has said that 7.7% economic growth in the fourth quarter of 2017-18 firmly establishes India as the fastest growing major economy in the world. In a Facebook post, Jaitley said that with the structural reforms like demonetization, the implementation of the goods and services tax and the enforcement of the insolvency and bankruptcy code, India had two challenging quarters. Those who predicted a 2% decline in GDP growth have been conclusively proved wrong. In 2016, former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh had termed demonetization as a monumental mismanagement by the NDA government, saying that it might shave off about 2 percentage points of the GDP growth. Now, Jaitley also dismissed former Finance Minister P. Chidambaram's advice to cut tax on petrol and diesel by 25 rupees a litre as a trap suggestion. He said it is intended to push India into an unmanageable debt, something which the UPA government left as its legacy.
चिदम्बरम जी की अगर नैतिकता है, वो थोड़ा देश के सामने एक सच बताएं। उन्होंने उनकी यूपीए की पीरियड में ऑयल बॉन्ड की नाम पे कितने कर्जा भारत की अर्थव्यवस्था पे छोड़ के गए, उसकी दूरगामी प्रभाव भारत की अर्थनीति में क्या है। आज हमें उनकी प्रिंसिपल और उसके ऊपर इंटरेस्ट दोनों को भुगतान करना पड़ रहा है।
And Union Minister Arun Jaitley, along with the senior ministerial colleagues and officials, also discussed the future course of action for debt-laden Air India. Now, PTI's quoting sources is saying that the meeting took place weeks after Air India's strategic disinvestment proposal failed to attract any bidders. The meeting was reportedly attended by Piyush Goyal, who has been temporarily given the charge of Finance Ministry, Civil Aviation Minister Suresh Prabhu, Transport Minister Nitin Gadkari and other senior officials. Now, according to sources, the meeting, chaired by Jaitley through video conferencing, took stock of the developments related to debt-laden Air India and discussed the way forward. The report, prepared by the transaction advisor for Air India's proposed strategic disinvestment, was discussed. And the Enforcement Directorate has filed a fresh charge sheet against liquor baron Vijay Mallya and others for allegedly cheating a consortium of nationalized banks to the tune of over 6,000 crore rupees. The charge sheet, filed under the provisions of the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, is based on a complaint by the SBI on behalf of the consortium of banks, accusing Vijay Mallya of not repaying loan taken during 2005 to 2010. The voluminous charge sheet, filed in Mumbai's special court, names Vijay Mallya, Kingfisher Airlines, United Breweries Holdings Limited and others. And the ICICI Bank on Monday announced that its CEO, Chanda Kochhar, would be on leave till the completion of the external probe against her in the Videocon loan case. The bank has named Sandeep Bakshi as the Chief Operating Officer, who would take over as from today, subject to various approvals. Now, Chanda Kochhar and her family members are facing allegations of quid pro quo and the conflict of interest with respect to a loan extended to the Videocon group. And on to the day's biggest story. Well, tech giant Google and the Central Water Commission have signed an agreement to improve flood forecast systems and disseminate flood-related information by using technology developed by Google. Now, the initiative is likely to help crisis management agencies to deal with extreme hydrological events in a better manner. Under this agreement, the CWC and Google will share technical expertise in various fields, including geospatial mapping and the analysis of hydrological observation data. The CWC, which is an apex technical organization in the field of water resources, will use Google Earth Engine to visualize and improve flood management. Water Resources Minister Nitin Gadkari also expressed hope that the collaboration with Google will help in effective flood management in our country. Meanwhile, the overall flood situation in the northeast is getting better as the water levels in the rivers of Mizoram, Tripura and Manipur have started to recede. However, it is maintaining a rising trend in the 6 affected districts of Assam. In Assam, at least 14 people have died, taking the death toll due to the flood-related incidents in the state to 25. Chief Minister Sarbanand Sonowal directed the authorities to speed up the relief and rescue operations and release a one-time financial assistance to the family members of those who have died in the flood. At least 437 relief camps have been set up across the states where more than 1 lakh people have taken shelter. In Tripura, the flood situation has improved with all the major rivers flowing below the danger level. The distribution of relief materials, food and medicines is also on full swing. The flood has so far claimed 3 lives in Tripura. While in Mizoram, the situation has also improved with the water levels of the 3 rivers in the state receding. Normal life also resumed in Azawal and Kolasib district. The flood situation has also improved in Manipur and all the major rivers in Imphal Valley are flowing below the danger level. Imphal West and Imphal East were currently affected by the floods and relief and rescue operations are going on in 3 districts. The flood has claimed 8 lives in the state. In Breakfast News, we'll take a very short break. We'll be back with more news.
Tales that inspire. Stories of social change. A salute to diversity. Promoting public discourse. Events that motivate. Inspiring the innovative spirit. Watch Rajya Sabha television documentaries.
Welcome back after the break. Well, President Ramnath Kovind is on a 3-nation visit tour to Greece, Suriname and Cuba. And on Monday, President Kovind met his Greek counterpart at the presidential mansion. The 2 leaders discussed matters of mutual interest, including economic cooperation and the enhancement of bilateral trade. The leaders said that the relations between the 2 countries go back in history and the ties will further be strengthened with this visit. President Kovind also met with the Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras and the leader of the opposition as well. He further sought collaboration from Greece in fighting the menace of terrorism. President Kovind will be addressing an India-Greek Business Forum meeting at Athens today before leaving for Suriname. He will also address an event organized by the Hellenic Foundation for Europe and Foreign Policy at Zapio.
Our 2 countries have a common stake in promoting multilateralism and global peace and security. We thank you for your consistent support for our candidature for a permanent seat in the UN Security Council. We must also redouble our efforts to fight and defeat terrorism.
The economic content was given high emphasis on both sides. All the Greek leaders acknowledge the potential India offers to the Greek industry, to the Greek exporters, to the Greek market for exporting to India as well as for attracting foreign investment from India. Hope for Indian entrepreneurs to invest in Greece, especially in areas like real estate, tourism, even agriculture sector, which offers great potential.
And External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj is in France for the second leg of her four-nation visit. This is Sushma Swaraj's first visit to France during her four-year tenure. Now, during her visit, which is also marking the 20th anniversary of the strategic partnership of India and France, Sushma Swaraj held discussions with her French counterpart Jean-Yves Le Drian and also called on President Emmanuel Macron. While addressing the media along with Le Drian, Sushma Swaraj underscored that the mutual trust between India and France has deepened. Le Drian said that they discussed cooperation in the nuclear sector. He added that important milestone was set in March this year when, during Macron's visit to India, agreements for 6 nuclear reactors in Jaitapur were discussed. Le Drian said that he and Sushma carried the discussions forward, so the project's rolled out is ensured by the end of the year. Sushma Swaraj has also extended an invitation to him to visit India at a mutually convenient time. And after the meeting, MEA spokesperson Ravish Kumar tweeted, the two sides held in-depth and constructive discussion on the full range of bilateral relationship. Sushma Swaraj also called on President Emmanuel Macron and held a bilateral meeting. Ravish Kumar tweeted, the two leaders discussed a follow-up to the understandings that were reached during French President's successful visit to India in March 2018, which infused new momentum in our bilateral ties. Sushma Swaraj also met with a diplomatic advisor to the French President, Philippe Etienne, and exchanged views on bilateral, regional and global issues of mutual interest from a strategic partnership. Sushma Swaraj was in earlier Italy on the first leg of her tour, and she will next head to Luxembourg, and on the last leg of her tour, Sushma Swaraj will visit Belgium.
इस वर्ष हम अपनी रणनीतिक साझेदारी के 2 दशक मना रहे हैं। अप्रैल 2015 और जून 2017 में प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी की फ्रांस यात्रा और हाल ही में राष्ट्रपति मैक्रों की भारत यात्रा से हमारी रणनीतिक साझेदारी को नई गति मिली है। हमारे दोनों देशों के बीच आपसी विश्वास और गहरा हुआ है और राजनीतिक विचारों में एकरूपता आई है।
And Nepal Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli will begin his 6-day visit to China from today. And ahead of his visit, Oli told his country's parliament that Nepal and China would reach understandings on energy, railways and reconstruction. During the visit, a host of projects under the Belt and Road Initiative as well as China's plans for an India-Nepal-China economic corridor are also expected to be discussed. China is also likely to extend assistance to the Nepal government for post-earthquake reconstruction. Oli will be in China till the 24th of June. Oli, during his first tenure as the Prime Minister, had signed a framework transit agreement with Beijing in 2016 in the wake of economic blockade by India. However, since his re-election, he made his first foreign visit to India, promising to follow a more balanced policy between India and China. Oli's visit comes at the invitation of his Chinese counterpart Li Keqiang, and this will be the first visit to China by the Prime Minister since he assumed power in the month of February. And US President Donald Trump has said that he will not allow the US to become a migrant camp, as he blamed Democrats for not coming to the table to negotiate immigration legislation. Donald Trump stood by his administration's immigration crackdown as he spoke at the White House on Monday. He insisted that the US would not be a refugee holding facility, adding that European countries had made a big mistake by allowing a lot of migrants in their country. The Trump administration's zero-tolerance policy entails criminally charging those entering the US illegally, including asylum seekers. Now, this has led to parents being separated from the children who are not charged with a crime. Meanwhile, the UN Human Rights Chief has called the policy as a government-sanctioned child abuse, and UN Chief also spoke out against the US border separations.
The United States will not be a migrant camp, and it will not be a refugee holding facility. Won't be. You look at what's happening in Europe, you look at what's happening in other places. We can't allow that to happen to the United States, not on my watch.
On the issue of migrants and refugee children, as a matter of principle, The Secretary General believes that refugee and migrants should always be treated with dignity and with respect, and in accordance with existing international laws. Children must not be traumatized by being separated from their parents. Family unity must be preserved.
And now all the action from the FIFA World Cup. Well, and on day 6 of the FIFA World Cup today, 3 matches are scheduled to be played. The first match of Group H is set to begin between Colombia and Japan at 5:30 p.m. India time. And the second Group H match between Poland and Senegal will kick off at 8:30 p.m. India time. And in the final match of the day, hosts Russia will clash with Egypt at 11:30 p.m. India time. And the results of the day 5 of the FIFA World Cup 2018, while England's skipper Kane led his team to a 2-1 victory over Tunisia, recording England's first win in the opening game of a major tournament since they beat Paraguay in the 2006 World Cup. Kane scored an early 11th minute goal, but Tunisia's Farjani Sassi managed to equalize the score after converting a 35th minute penalty. India secured their victory as Kane scored a late goal in stoppage time, giving England their much-needed 3 points. Kane also became the first England player to score twice in a World Cup match since Gary Lineker against Cameroon in 1990. Meanwhile, Belgium notched 3 points after their 3-0 win in their 2018 World Cup opener against Panama, despite a poor performance in the first half. Dries Mertens scored the first goal of the match just 2 minutes into the second half. And Romelu Lukaku broke through to score twice in the 7 minutes to seal their victory. And Sweden locked up 3 crucial points after beating South Korea to begin their campaign with a 1-0 win. All right, let's get perspective on all the matches that happened yesterday. We have with us Mr. Shekhar Luthra, Senior Sports Editor, DNA, is joining us live in the studio. Very good morning, Mr. Luthra.
Good morning.
Let's talk about yesterday's matches first. Of course, England versus Tunisia match. It was a thrilling contest, especially in the first half. And in the second half, really, Tunisia failing to hold on to rhythm every time they got the possession of the ball. But England really looked calm, composed, and that made all the difference.
But look at the overall stats of the match. Aishwarya, I would say that Tunisia looks to be the weakest side in the tournament right now, because they could not match the speed of England, and overall, whether it was a ball possession, whether it was marking, they were more on to one marking of English players, which obviously has not succeeded because of the simple fact that English team is very free-flowing. You can't mark them one-on-one, and that's where I think Kane, look at his performance playing his first World Cup, the way he has scored all this brace. And also he was the one who was not marked by one, but obviously there was a midfielder also coming in and trying to mark him. But obviously that strategy has not suited or been successful for Tunisia. From here on, I think, Aishwarya, if Tunisia has to come back, because they are not just the weakest side, but also from the African subcontinent, they are the one who just got into this World Cup, by virtue of certain other failures of other teams. So I think it will be a difficult task for them to come back into the tournament.
Absolutely. And speaking about the second match, Mr. Luthra, Belgium versus Panama, of course, that sensational Mertens volley as well as Lukaku's double really ensuring Belgium's rout of Panama yesterday?
Well, I think this is the most exciting side. And if I have to pick, top 3 or maybe top 4 teams in this World Cup, then obviously Belgium is one of the sides. But yesterday's game, obviously, to start with, it was a little bit of on the slower side. Maybe they were trying to test each other. And also Belgium is a side where, Fellaini was not in the starting lineup. So I don't know the reasons. But again, that midfield, the playmaker from the midfield was somewhere missing, And obviously he has a great experience from Manchester United, and there are talks about him, you know, going to Arsenal. But again, talking about this particular match, I think once Belgium got the momentum, it was difficult to stop them. And this team, Larsson, you know, whole of this team, they were obviously at peak, and they were more creative. The ball possession and also the aerial ball, because of their height advantage also. I think in aerial football also they triumphed.
And Belgium seems to be one of your favorites for the tournament?
Definitely. I think the way they are playing, and also the initial hiccups, you have to understand that Belgium, Sweden, all these sides, they are always been as slow starters. They are not like Brazil or Germany, which have obviously in this World Cup there were, you know, couple of setbacks. But Belgium, you know, Sweden, all these sides are very slow starters. And for the first time in last so many World Cups, I think they have got the positive starts. They just have to build on to this, you know, starts and keep this momentum going.
And sir, speaking about a Sweden versus South Korea match, Sweden winning an opening World Cup game for the first time since 1958. Of course,
yes.
Ending their gold route with this match.
Oh, definitely. As I have said, they were the slowest of the starters. In fact, when you are talking about 58, I think that was the only time they started off with that 3-0 victory against Mexico. And that time, Mexico used to be a very good side. Even now, I think one of the, again, if you have to talk about the few good teams which has defeated Germany, Mexico is one of them. But talking about this, without Zlatan, without Abramovich, their biggest player who has, you know, retired 2 years ago after the European Cup, I think everybody had some kind of suspicion against this team, whether they could actually pull off a good victory. But last night, I think they have proved that without Zlatan also, they are a very, very formidable side. And with 3 points now in their kitty, it would not be easy for the rest of the teams. And look at the situation right now. Sweden, Germany, Mexico in one group. This could be the group of death. And you never know, if Germany could just draw next two, they are out, or they don't win the next two games. It could be a difficult situation for them.
One of the most exciting groups. But speaking about today's matches, of course, first Japan versus Colombia. You know, Japan, this is an opportunity for Japan to get their revenge against Colombia.
Well, I'm not very sure about the Asian teams doing well in this tournament, because we have seen Korea, they look to be on the poorest side. And then Saudi Arabia that day, you know, the way they conceded 5 goals against host Russia. Russia are one of the lowest ranked team in these 32 teams.
Yes.
In fact, the lowest ranked. So in a way, I think Asian teams need to have some kind of extra boost in order to have any chances in this competition. And today, Japan is going to show whether we still have a chance from Asia, because Colombians, again, we know they're very formidable side. They are the very physical side, I would say. And Japan, looking at their height also, I think it would not be easier for Japan to counter that aerial attacks from the Colombians. And as I have said, if Japan has to beat Colombia, it will have to be on the technical side, on the dribbling, on creating those chances from the left or right flanks. But if you are playing aerial football, if you are playing the center midfield and you are creating chances from the middle, it will be very, very difficult for them.
And there are 2 other matches as well, hosts Russia versus Egypt, and all eyes will be on striker Mohamed Salah today.
I don't know why he was rested in the first game, because that was a very close game. Egypt lost by just 1 goal, and that too in the dying moments. But again, I expect Salah to be in the starting lineup. There is no other way out. If Egypt loses this game, then obviously they are out of this tournament. And looking at their team, the last match result, I think they look to be a very solid side, especially the defense, the midfield. The problem was only in the attack.
Yes.
And that's where I think what's best footballer. If I have to call him the best footballer in last 1 year, obviously I'll not be hesitating that. He has scored more goals, not more goals, but he has created more goals and scored more goals than Messi or anybody else in last 1 year. Very, very exciting times. But again, for Russia, 5-0 victory in the first game. It was unexpected.
Both the teams are really looking like,
and it will
that
be
is,
again
it is really looking like
packed.
a mouth-watering clash. And of course, we have Poland versus Senegal as well. I'm sorry, but we're just running out of time. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us this morning and sharing your perspective on all the football matches that are slated for today. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump has escalated a growing trade war with China by unveiling plans to impose 10% tariffs on an additional $200 billion worth of Chinese goods. Trump said that he was pushing forward with the fresh punitive measures after Beijing's unacceptable move to raise its own tariffs. The US leader warned that after the new measures are in place, on top of existing 25% tariffs on $50 billion in Chinese imports, tariffs on another $200 billion of the Chinese goods would go forward if China increases its tariffs yet again. Trump had already warned last week of additional tariffs should Beijing hit back with tit-for-tat duties on American goods. Then China followed suit, unveiling 25% duties on $50 billion in US imports, matching the US rates. And with that, we come to an end of this edition of Breakfast News. Thanks for watching.